The gloves are off. President Trump calls on the DOJ to immediately go after Barack Obama for the treasonous Russia hoax.
After what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly.
New video surfaces of tons of humanitarian aid just sitting in Gaza. Why Hamas, the terror group, and the UN are blocking the aid from reaching the people. Also, no funny, no money. Stephen Colbert and the left refuse to admit the Late Show got canceled because the only joke on his show was him. I'm Daniel Cohen. This is the Daniel Cohen Show on the Real Life Network. The tables have turned. The hunter has become the hunted. Tulsi Gabbard releasing more documents the director of national intelligence says refutes a statement from former President Obama's camp denying that Obama had any role in an alleged coup attempt against President Trump. Here's Trump alleging that that he was the treasonous ringleader of the Russia hoax.
It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level.
Now, the smoking gun here, according to Gabbard, was a December 9th, 2016 meeting that took place at the White House. Several top National Security Council principals were there. And the result of that meeting, they created a new assessment. And this was what Gabbard said. Per the president's request, again, that's Obama, to detail the tools Moscow used and the actions it took to influence the 2016 election. On Tuesday, a spokesperson from the Obama camp called that accusation outrageous and said that nothing in the document issued last week, that's the one by Gabbard, remember this came out Friday, undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. Here's that spokesman, again, not spokesman, here's CNN reporting on that word from the Obama camp.
Nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee led by then Chairman Marco Rubio.
Okay, we have to explain what you just heard. Rubio alluded that there was some kind of Russian meddling. He didn't go into a detail about what that meddling was. Rubio also said that the committee found absolutely no evidence of Russian collusion with Trump. Obama's statement, what you just heard there, is very slick. We aren't sure what kind of meddling Russia may have attempted or what Rubio was talking about, but Obama is clearly throwing some fog there. Now, since Friday's initial announcement, Gabbard, she went on Newsmax, actually. She was on with Rob Schmidt. And she's saying that whistleblowers are now coming forward, saying that they have more. There's new information that's related to what happened on President Obama's watch. I can't wait to hear what these whistleblowers have to say. But one example that Tulsi Gabbard gave, she said that Obama's CIA director, John Brennan, that Brennan says that there was strong consensus to support the CIA claim that Russian hackers aided Donald Trump's election. And the chorus in the mainstream media backed up that false claim.
New York Times says Russian hackers acted to aid Trump in the election. Obama's CIA Director John Brennan says there is strong consensus among us to support the CIA claim Russian hackers aided Donald Trump's election. Hillary Clinton said, I would be president if not for the Russian hackers supporting Donald Trump. So there is a vast body of evidence and intelligence that debunks and refutes this statement you've just read and others coming from some of the Democrat leaders in Congress today.
Okay, so the allegation here is simply this. The deep state used a fake dossier called the Steele dossier, which was bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton, to illegally obtain a FISA warrant that allowed them to spy on President Trump. They took out General Flynn, and to perpetuate this Russia hoax. That's everything, which we could take an hour deconstructing. But that's the allegation. Now, the media, they have always protected Barack Obama, always. And they are melting down. The usual suspects, MSNBC, CNN. Here's a Democrat strategist named Keith Boykin. I think he worked for President Clinton. But here he is saying that the reason that Trump is attacking Obama now is Jeffrey Epstein.
This is what Trump does. He distracts everybody. He's talking about President Obama because he doesn't want to talk about Epstein. He's talking about the Washington Commanders and the Cleveland Guardians because he doesn't want to talk about Epstein. He releases the Martin Luther King files because he doesn't want to talk about Epstein. He's doing everything possible except talking about Jeffrey Epstein because he's trying to throw up distractions so that people like you, Todd, can come on TV and try to diffuse
I have tried
the
to
issue.
agree.
You can walk and chew gum here at the same time, everybody. The Jeffrey Epstein thing is so convoluted and messy, but you can still set that aside. We can operate two separate thoughts. The left is hoping that you will either ignore the entire Democrat machine and the Justice Department, the CIA, the FBI, the intelligence apparatus, all of it coming full knives out for President Trump. They either want you to ignore it or let it go. Why look? It was years ago. It's behind us. Looking forward. Be progressive. That's not going to happen. We can see that now. This isn't. I was listening specifically to President Trump's words when he said Obama was implicated. It's personal for him. This is personal. The DOJ was weaponized. The courts were weaponized. Sympathetic left-wing judges were weaponized. They twisted up the law, these attorneys, like a pretzel to bootstrap misdemeanors into felonies, to try to bankrupt Trump and to send him to prison for the rest of his life. Federal agents raided Mar-a-Lago. They went through First Lady Melania Trump's underwear drawer. And what the left did to President Trump, that was vicious. And we're hearing people, and maybe you're hearing too, President, arresting Barack Obama, that would be unprecedented. Baloney. Look at this picture. Look at the picture on your left. That's a mugshot of President Trump. And the picture on the right. He got shot in the ear. They mugshot and shot President Trump. There is no precedent. It's been shattered. Those images that you just saw, especially when President Trump was shot in the ear and the mugshot, actually both of those. I think those images, that's what sealed President Trump's reelection. The man has survived the full force of the federal government and took a bullet to the ear. He didn't come out unscathed. E. Jean Carroll, you may remember that name. She won an $88 million judgment. I think there were multiple judgments. They're still in appeal. But the case with her, details very foggy. There was some kind of physical misconduct. Look, I'm not going to get into that either, but afterwards, this tells the whole story. She was being interviewed. She said she completely forgot to disclose in her deposition that a billionaire Democrat donor was funding part of her case. She alleged some kind of misconduct, but it wasn't the word rape. She was sitting with Anderson Cooper, and she was being interviewed after the judgment. And she said the craziest thing. She said that she believes rape is sexy.
You don't feel like a victim?
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished. Which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
Well, I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as
sexy. She was going to say rape is sexy, and then Anderson Cooper immediately says, "We're going to go to a break. We're going to go to a commercial here." There's nothing sexy about rape. It's power. Power, not sex or sexiness. What is she talking about? John Brennan, disgraced former FBI director James Comey, James Clapper, they're all under criminal investigation. The deep state they thought they were untouchable. But they're not. If you can mugshot President Trump, if you can arrest President Trump and try to destroy President Trump, like the left always says, no one is above the law. That includes Barack Obama. The truth always comes out. Justice is coming. And we'll be watching on this network, and we will update you. Speaking of manufactured narratives, lies, the same corrupt establishment that tried to get Trump is now spreading the most vile propaganda about Israel in Gaza. They want you to believe that Israel is starving the civilians there. But as usual, the truth is the exact opposite. We got the receipts. This is the Daniel Cohen Show on the Real Life Network. We'll be right back.
In a world where truth seems difficult to find, the Real Life Network delivers it to you on a free streaming platform unlike any other. Free from big government, big tech, and big business, the Real Life Network offers endless hours of real stories, real news, and real hope, all through the lens of a biblical worldview. Watch news shows, live events, children's programs, films, and documentaries, and some of the world's best teaching. The Real Life Network, where real truth comes to life.
You know, the world is screaming, and while you hear about humanitarian aid not being delivered in Gaza, I want you to guess. Do you know who's actually blocking it? I'll give you a hint. It's not Israel. Nearly 1,000 truckloads of food and supplies. Look at this video. This is from the Israel Defense Forces from yesterday. It's sitting in Gaza right now. Look at all those supplies just waiting to be distributed. Well, what's it doing just sitting there while the people are starving, Daniel? Well, exactly. That's the question. The UN is refusing to cooperate with the new Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF. It's led by, among others, Johnny Moore, evangelical. Perhaps you know him. Hamas, the UN, they aren't and can't control the distribution of this aid. And it's because the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, their model is actually working. They've distributed 85 million meals in 2 months. In the UN's track record was a mess. They were parachuting aid in. It was being stolen. You've probably seen video. Gosh, I wish I had it for you. Hamas operatives are riding on the back of trucks with weapons. They were stealing it. They've been stealing from the people of Gaza for years, even before October 7th. Now, here's what the media is not telling you. This is, and there is, a well-oiled propaganda machine. It's working around the clock. It's 24/7. And they're trying to demonize Israel because they don't want you to know what's really happening there. Every day, the mainstream media, they're pushing a lie that Israel, the IDF, that they're starving the people of Gaza. Have you seen, you're not going to see the video that we just showed you. Nearly 1,000 trucks. We can show it again. Show it again. 1,000 trucks of aid, and aid just lining. Huge. Look at all that aid. Where are all the investigative reports from the BBC, from CNN, of Hamas stealing food from their own people? Have some journalistic integrity. Oh, by the way, we'll show you this picture. Dor, put it up. These are members of Hamas. They're underground. These images just surfaced a few hours ago. And these are Hamas terrorists eating underground in the tunnels, all that food right in front of Israeli captives, or where the captives or Israeli hostages are held or have been held or are being held. Isn't that gross? While the mainstream media is telling you that Gazan civilians are starving, there's photos going around of Hamas just a few hours old having feasts in the tunnels. They're not going hungry. I want you to listen to this. Okay, I'm going to read it for you too while I'm going to talk over it. Go ahead. This is a message from the people of Hamas. Give it up and go away. You have destroyed Gaza, this man says. For God's sake, have mercy on us. That man says, thank you, Trump. This man, bless you, Trump. Trump feeds us while Hamas starves us. Hamas talks about resistance, weapons. Look at how people all over Gaza are going to the Americans to get food. Bless Trump. Thank you, Trump, the one who feeds me. May God bless him. they were talking quickly. I was trying to keep up, but you get the point. The people, the civilians in Gaza, are recognizing and understanding that Israel's not starving them, that America's feeding them, that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is playing a major role in distributing food to them, and Hamas is trying to steal it. Hamas is literally stripping food, taking food out of their mouths. And the stories that you've seen of these shooting, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation said that Hamas has been mixing in their operatives with people coming to get aid, and they've been shooting and trying to create chaos, knowing that Israel would be blamed. IDF has to respond when they're being shot at by people trying to. You can understand that a firefight takes place and it's Israel's fault, while people are trying to just get food to feed their families. The deception is sick. They're using fake pictures, they're using fake photos to try to convince you to believe that there's mass starvation in Gaza. I want you to watch this. I'm going to talk over this too. Look at this video on your screen. There's a man here at the top of the screen, and he's telling this child to fake scream for the camera, and you hear him screaming. And this, just a little bit later, is a reporter in Gaza, and you can see he's using that scene. He's using that same, this is that same scene where that child that we just saw screaming for the camera is now being used in a news report. Shameless. They have no shame. And the mainstream media just laps it up. CNN, BBC, New York Times. They're amplifying lies, easily debunked lies. There is no journalistic standard whatsoever, unless it's on purpose, unless they're obfuscating on purpose. I don't remember CNN interviewing the Gazans who admit that Hamas is the problem. Do you remember seeing that story? Have you seen that story? I haven't seen that story. The media's chosen sides. The media, the legacy media, has decided Israel is the villain here. And they're conveniently ignoring evidence that contradicts the narrative. This is beyond just bad journalism. There's a coordinated campaign to delegitimize Israel's right to defend itself. And even the UN is part of it. The UN is refusing to cooperate with GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation that we're telling you about. Do you see this image? These are 12, these are UN employees in Gaza. They're Hamas terrorists by night. Employees by day that work with some type of UN aid organization, Hamas by night. Israel uncovered through cell phone tracking, these men were in Israel on October 7th and aided in the massacre. UN employees. The same UN that stores weapons, that had weapons stored in their schools, hospitals. We've seen weapons in refugee camps, terrorists trained, indoctrinated. One other thing about the UN, between 2015 and 2023, the UN adopted 154 resolutions against Israel. How many resolutions from the rest of the entire world, Daniel? Take a guess. 71. Of every other nation in the entire world, all of them, there were over twice as many resolutions against Israel at the UN. Israel's supposed to trust a single word that the UN says? Think about it. Russia, Syria, North Korea, Afghanistan. Some rough countries. Here's Danny Danon. This is Israel's ambassador at the UN on unpacking the hypocrisy of the organization. This is from back in June.
3 weeks ago, Hamas terrorists murdered clearly identified GHF staff as they were returning from a day of feeding Gazan civilians. Horrible pictures. They stopped the bus, tortured them in the middle of the road, and executed them. The Secretary General said nothing. OCHA, nothing. UNRWA, nothing. Silence in the face of murder is not impartiality, it is abandonment.
I guarantee you heard about when Israel accidentally struck World Central Kitchen. Those aid workers, you probably didn't hear a word of what Danny Danon just described. Did you know that? When Hamas kills aid workers, It's not even a mention. What is it? We just are supposed to tolerate? Well, that's what terrorists do. Terrorists do terrorism. UN's angry. They have lost control. There's a corrupt pipeline, and they are throwing a tantrum, and they won't work with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Here's Danny Danon again. This is really important. He's talking about the beyond ridiculous talking points that are coming out of the UN right now.
The blindness and hatred have now exploded into absurdity, with some actors even promoting the insane conspiracy that the aid being distributed contains drugs. And if the people risking their lives to feed families are secretly pushing narcotics, it's delusional.
It's delusional. So did you catch that? Israel's running a covert drug running operation now while delivering aid in Gaza? The propaganda operation is just insane. But there's an entire network of NGOs and activists and human rights organizations, and they're coordinating this message to demonize Israel. You're only hearing one side of the story. I guarantee you. Did you even hear that? Did you know that, what Danny Danon just shared? That was from June. But they can manipulate you with images. They can use those photos. They can show video to really tug at the heartstrings. You are being bombarded with so much fake news, so much propaganda, so much emotional manipulation. It's almost impossible for any person who doesn't live in Israel, who isn't immersed in it, to figure out what's real and what's not. But the real villains here, Hamas, the terrorists that use their own people as human shields, children that steal food from babies, who shoot civilians trying to get aid, they're the ones getting the free pass. There are two wars happening right now. There's a war on the ground in Gaza, and there's a huge information war. There are over 2 billion Muslims around the world, and there are 15 million Jews, and not all feel any sort of connection to the land of Israel. Who's got the bigger microphone? Hamas is using humanitarian aid as their last resort to maintain power. They not only do they not care if the people suffer, they want the people to suffer. They want those photos to circulate, to stir up and to continue to manufacture international outrage against Israel. It's the only war, it's the only way they can win. They can't win on the battlefield. Israel's too strong. IDF, way too strong. Fierce fighting force. One of the most lethal militaries in the world, as we've seen in the last few weeks and months. But they can win in the court of public opinion. And the international media, with them as an accomplice, sad. Very sad. Speaking of people who can't admit when they're wrong, the media's overreaction to Stephen Colbert being canceled by CBS Paramount. Look, the guy's show loses around $40 million a year. And the media blames who else? Donald Trump. You're watching The Daniel Cohen Show on the Real Life Network. We'll be right back.
Life is full of fear, doubt, and worry. The more you listen to and see the world today, the easier it is to feel hopeless and helpless. Amidst the confusion, a voice of hope has emerged. The Real Life Network. Founded by Jack Hibbs, the Real Life Network is a free digital media platform, void of the noise of secular media that attack people of faith. Click on the QR code or sign up for free at reallifenetwork.com. Fast forward your faith.
The left and the legacy media, boy, there's a spin cycle right now. They are spinning hard for Stephen Colbert. The cancellation of The Late Show. The left, they're saying that it was some kind of a political hit job by CBS Paramount to buy off President Trump. But the truth, which we're going to expose in just a second, is really simple. It's real easy. The guy just isn't funny. He's not funny anymore. And he's bleeding the network dry, and they simply can't continue to throw good money after bad.
On Friday, Donald Trump posted, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings." How dare you, sir? Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism? Go yourself.
Bravo. Bravo, Stephen Colbert, and your staff of 20 writers. 20 writers? Are you kidding me? For a 1-hour show? 20 writers. And that is what they came up with? That's pathetic. CBS said that Stephen Colbert, that The Late Show was losing, ready for this, between $40 and $50 million a year. What was he making? Maybe 10, 15, 20 million? I'm not sure the exact number. He's not pulling minimum wage. This show is a financial disaster for the network. I can't believe it stayed on as long as it did. But the deeper problem here is that Colbert stopped being a comedian. That ship sailed years ago when he became a Democrat activist with a partial laugh track. Do you remember this? Horrible. I'll never forget this. I'll never wash the taste of this. Even just, please give me something to wash my eyes from watching the vaccine. Look, you got a vaccine during COVID. Clearly, this is COVID time stuff. This whole propaganda bit. But he turned the show into an extension of the Democrat Party, and he wonders why half the country stopped watching? You get a vaccine, great. You didn't want to get a vaccine, great. I know good people on both sides that said they didn't want to take an experimental jab, and some people that maybe they felt like it saved their life. Great. But forcing it on other people, bullying other people. People lost their jobs. People lost their livelihood over it. That's speaking truth to power. What a joke. What happened to writers, doing satire, tiptoeing up to the edge, being bold, being courageous? There's nothing courageous about that. That was just pure propaganda. Do you remember when gas prices were going through the roof, crushing American families, especially from California? Under Joe Biden, its prices spiked up to $5, $6, some places $7 a gallon. And then, do you remember in 2022, Stephen Colbert, he said this.
Since the invasion, oil prices have skyrocketed. Today, the average gas price in America hit an all-time record high of over $4 per gallon. Mm-hmm. Okay, that stings, but a clean conscience is worth $1 or $2. I'm willing to pay.
Yeah.
It's important. Right. It's important. I'm willing to pay $4 a gallon. Hell, I'll pay $15 a gallon because I drive a Tesla.
Look, when you're making the kind of scratch Stephen Colbert makes, you can charge $20 a gallon. But that was a subtle, nice jab too, for those of you that can't afford to buy an electric vehicle either. Hey, what about single mothers working 2 jobs that have kids at home that are trying to just figure out how to pay the rent, struggling to put food on the table, maybe help them with homework? What about elderly? What about a senior couple on a fixed income that have to choose between food or their medicine? Did you have a clear conscience for them? Bill Maher, who has 2 shows, actually, he sat down with Dave Rubin. And Dave Rubin had this, which I think was the perfect take on Colbert.
Like, those guys, to me, they're just the worst sort of partisan nonsense. You want everybody...
But the good part of that is we don't hide it. Like, he doesn't like me and I don't like him. And we don't deny it and we don't like it.
No, but he's nothing.
Colbert?
Yeah, he's nothing.
He's also very successful.
No, but he's just giving the machine what it wants all the time. You for my differences with you, I totally respect you.
Is well said.
Yeah.
Giving the machine what it wants. I wish I had thought of that phraseology. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Give the people what they want. But if the people don't want it anymore, you got to change. You got to moderate. And clearly, the people don't want it. Colbert is not the only one. He's been really vitriolic. He's really been attacking CBS and Paramount. Even Jon Stewart, who he used to work with on The Daily Show. Jon Stewart having a meltdown. I don't know if you saw this. We actually took the words out. We took all the tracks out. It's just Jon Stewart telling CBS to a gospel choir, or at least what it appears to be. It's supposed to be a gospel choir. Go F yourself. That's the whole thing. Go F yourself. And he says it over and over, and you can read his lips. You get the point. Go F yourself, CBS, with a gospel choir. So insulting. I mean, cursing your own parent company. I mean, he knows he could be next. Although Jon Stewart's still funny. He's still playing up the 33-year-old, satire guy, even though I think he's in his 60s, but still. These late night hosts built a career, their entire careers on hating Trump. But the shtick is old. It's just old. The entertainment industry is finally waking up. It's a metric. You can read it. There are ratings. You get them every single day. What are people watching or are people not watching? People aren't watching. Come up with something new. Colbert spent years calling Trump supporters Nazis, fascists. Is it any surprise that those same people aren't interested in watching him? Don't want to stay up late at night? Here's Donald Trump. Here's a truth, I believe. He says, I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. I hear Jimmy Kimmel's next. He has even less talent than Colbert. Greg Gutfeld is better than all of them combined. Greg Gutfeld, who has the show on Fox, including the moron on NBC who ruined the once great Tonight Show. I mean, you may agree or disagree, but Trump will always tell you what he thinks. You ready? Everybody on the left, it's time to take your medicine. Colbert is terrible. He's not funny. And his show is a money pit. And keeping him on the air, even for political reasons, even if they agree with him, is terrible business.
Could they be in?
The left is trying to claim CBS fired him to appease Trump ahead of the merger and the lawsuit in 60 Minutes. What a bunch of baloney. If that were true, they would have just fired him immediately. We have 10 more months to suffer through this. They could have just pulled the plug. Oh, one more thing I'll just say. When Trump was being deplatformed, when he was being canceled, all these people that are saying, oh, it was political retribution and his voice, Colbert's voice is so important. Where were all of those people when Trump was being deplatformed? All those free speech warriors. When conservatives were being silenced by Silicon Valley, Colbert and his friends, and maybe were you celebrating that?
I went to the spin too late.
The Trump obsession, all of it, it stopped being funny a long time ago. Americans want to laugh. We want to laugh. Not be lectured to. The left hasn't figured that out. Late night TV used to be so good. It was an escape from politics. Johnny Carson, legend. Had good fun. Republican, Democrat, didn't matter. But now it's just a weapon. It's become a weapon of the left. I don't know how much longer Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, I don't know. But there could be other dominoes falling, and they could fall soon. The market is rejecting you. It's not censorship. That is the very definition of capitalism. While Stephen Colbert was using his platform for the DNC, one Hollywood icon from Israel is using her platform to do something wonderful. I'm Daniel Cohen. We'll be right back here on the Real Life Network.
The world is upside down. Information can't be trusted. It's time to cut through the lies and know biblical truth. Amidst the chaos, a voice of hope has emerged. The Real Life Network. Founded by Jack Hibbs, the Real Life Network is a digital streaming platform, free from the cancel culture clutches of big tech and big government that attack people of faith. Featuring biblical worldview programming the whole family can enjoy, and it won't be canceled.
Friends, listen, the days are dark, and now's the time for you to stand. That's why we've created the Real Life Network. It's a one-stop place where you can increase your faith, get Bible teaching, and to do this very thing, to go out and be disciples of the Lord Jesus Christ in the culture in which you live. So please, adopt a biblical worldview like never before. The world is waiting to hear from us.
Click on the QR code or subscribe for free at reallifenetwork.com. It's time to live out what you believe in. Fast forward your faith.
You know, sometimes in the middle of all the darkness and the noise and the hatred, God gives us a moment, a real life moment. Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, met with 5 brave Israeli women who survived Hamas captivity in Gaza. There she is. She was in Jerusalem. Now these women endured pure hell in the Hamas tunnels. I'm sure things that we've heard and things we've never heard. Doron Steinbrecher, a veterinarian, she was kidnapped from her home. Liri Albag, Nama Levy, young IDF observation soldiers that were tortured for months. Moran Stella Yanai, a mother who survived unspeakable horror. And Ilana Gritsevsky, and she was held for 55 days. Look at Gal Gadot. She's so relatable. She speaks with them. I can tell you, she listened to all of their stories as well. We can't show you the entire video, but she affirmed them. She acknowledged them. She called them an inspiration. There are still 50 hostages or so in Gaza. 20 or so are believed to be alive. What an inspiration. Gal Gadot and those women. She's a Hollywood icon, not just for Wonder Woman, but it got me thinking, there were many prominent Jews in Hollywood that haven't barely mentioned October 7th, the massacre, support for Israel of any kind. Not about Netanyahu or not. What about just Israel? What about just supporting? Do you have any connection at all to the land? Not a peep. The atrocities that took place. I remember Ben Stiller traveling to Ukraine to meet with President Zelensky. Ben, could you have traveled to Israel? Steven Spielberg, Barbara Streisand, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Larry David. I could just name Jewish actors, actresses, directors. It's so disappointing that more Jews in Hollywood that have name power aren't using their influence to do more. Will and Grace star Deborah Messing. What you're seeing here, she's executive producing a new film. It's called October 8th, not the 7th, 8th. It's not about the day Hamas stormed Israel and did every evil, satanic atrocity. It's about what happened the next day, when the anti-Semitism, these grotesque protests broke out across the United States, around the world. People celebrating what happened on October 7th before the bodies in Israel were even cold. She shared a blog entry with the Times of Israel. You can see right here. It's called My Inconvenient Jewish Fear, where she, Deborah Messing, she's a liberal Democrat. She's no rock-ribbed conservative at all. She's campaigned with every Democrat for every social justice cause there is. And she's speaking out now. She's against calls for the extermination of Jews from the river to the sea. Globalize the Intifada. What do you think that means? And in that write-up, she describes herself as suddenly contemptible from the left, the people that she thought she was in good standing with. She said that every post she shares on social media, no matter how apolitical, becomes inundated with hateful comments. I get them too. I read my... How devastating. Not for me. Leave me out of it. She said it's devastating. It's more than that. It's heartbreaking. But not surprising. The essence of the progressive movement is to remove itself from a fundamental alignment with God, to reject coming under God's authority. The war in Gaza, this vitriol for Israel, it's spiritual. It's a spiritual war. We don't battle flesh and blood, spirits and principalities. You can go all the way back to Exodus chapter 17. God promises, he says that Israel would be at war from generation to generation. Had to do with King Saul being disobedient. Because of disobedience. He says the battle belongs to the Lord. It's his battle. So it makes sense, in my mind, for Deborah Messing, that expressing support for the Jewish people, expressing a support for Israel would eventually have to be challenged by a progressive movement that doesn't want anything to do with God or his authority. Deborah Messing's story is like that of many Jews. They thought they had a home amongst progressives, amongst Democrats. And now, some, not all, are sadly waking up to the reality that they don't. Hollywood is full of rich, powerful, but very weak men. We don't need everyone in Hollywood to be Superman. What we need is more of you to be a Wonder Woman. That's our show for today. Thank you for watching The Daniel Cohen Show from Israel for the Real Life Network. We'll see you next time.